but you're so nice. I feel you thinking about me. I hear your name in the breeze. You're all that I see. The birds singing melodies. Just remember you're all that I breathe. Remember all around me. The ocean, the sun, and the trees.
Oh, you're so sweet, I swear. Te mando un besito.
All right, we're on. Disco Acid Cult TV. I've been really irritated for the last like 24 hours. I can't do this Studio Ghibli thing with pictures on ChatGPT. It keeps telling me no. Like, it tells me no. It just straight up tells me that it can't do it. Everyone's like, yeah, you do it on ChatGPT. I'm like, yeah, I have that. I even have an account. I put up a picture. I've done it with a picture of me, and it'll say, I can't directly edit the image, but I can generate a new Studio Ghibli style illustration inspired by it. So then, I don't want that, but I'll just say, sure, let's see what it has. And then it will say, I wasn't able to generate the image because the request didn't follow content policy guidelines. And then I'll ask it what the guideline is, and it'll say it can't accept pictures of people, like real people. So then I try like a picture of like Sharon Tate, and it'll do the same thing. So it just won't do it for me. And then I asked it why, like I straight up got into a conversation with ChatGPT and was like, how is everyone else doing it? And it straight up says, oh, they must be using other programs. And I'm like, no, everyone says it's on ChatGPT. So why am I the only one that it's not? And it's like, oh, I understand things may be inconsistent, but I can't do it. And it just won't do it. Like, I'm literally just using like a picture of like I'm using a still shot of me like sitting here on the stream. It's like, oh yeah, no, I can't. It says it can't directly modify pictures. And then it will say, oh yeah, no, it's a policy guideline. I can't accept pictures of real people. I'm like, what? See, I have no idea what's up with that. But it's just, yeah, I'm out of luck on this one. I'm out of luck on like all of the trends. All these like internet trends that pop up, I always miss out on them. I'm either too late or it's something like this. Like it just straight up won't. Yeah. Like, dude, people are making like, I even asked Annie did one of her and her husband. I'm like, how'd you do it? She's like, oh, it's on Chat GPT. She's like, you put the picture up and you just say, make the Studio Ghibli. I'm like, yeah, no, it won't. It'll tell me it can't do it. It can't do real people. Now she says, I can try it with one of your pictures. So I guess maybe I could send her one of my pictures and then see if it works for her. Yeah, no, I've got no idea. I have no idea what's going on with it. Um, I actually have stuff for today. Let me pull this up. I have some funny things. One of them is really funny because let me see. The Ukrainian OnlyFans girl. That one's I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny because what, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, Drunken Japan was on here talking about this exact thing, which was something that I didn't even know was a thing at the time. OnlyFans girls getting paid by, like, rich people in the Middle East to fly out there and do weird shit. So I guess there's this story about, this Ukrainian OnlyFans girl. Let me see, Maria, oh, of course, her name is, Ukrainian, Maria Kovalchuk? Whatever, Ukrainian OnlyFans girl named Maria. She goes to Dubai for a party that's called a porta potty. That's, like, what the event is, and it sounds like it's where these rich, like, oil sheiks in, Dubai shit on people. Like, that's why it's called a porta potty, 'cause they hire these girls, and then they just Vince McMahon all over these fucking girls. And I guess, yeah, I guess this girl from Ukraine went to one, and then she went missing for some amount of days, and then they find her, like, fucked up on the side of the road in Dubai. Now, let me see, this tweet has a little bit more. Yeah, she went missing after attending a party in Dubai on March 9th, 2025, and was discovered 8 days later in a critically injured state with broken limbs and spine, and is currently unable to speak. She's undergone multiple surgeries and remains in critical condition. I guess I don't have anything about the cops, but I heard from some other show that the cops in Dubai, like, do not give a fuck. Like, they're basically trying to say, like, "Oh, yeah, she must have been out fucking around and, nothing we can do about it." And it's like, dude, someone here, like, clearly fucked her up. This isn't just it wasn't some accident. Yeah, let me see. Ukrainian influencer who vanished after attending a hotel party in Dubai with two men from the modeling business, and that modeling business is in air quotes, was found dumped on the side of the road with her limbs and spine broken. I think a spine broken is, like, pretty hardcore. Like, I don't think most people break their spine. Porta potties, again in quotes, are secret parties organized by billionaires and exclusive members in which various sex acts are performed. And yeah, I think the porta potty term is specifically because they're Vince McMahoning these girls. A CEO of a legal company in Dubai has mentioned that in the past few years, an increased number of influencers and artists have approached her organization saying they were lured to parties where they were expected to perform sex acts. Yeah, no, I never even knew this was a thing. And then, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had Drunk in Japan on the stream, and he brought this up, like, on his own. And he lived in Japan for a while, so I mean, I would assume this happens, in all kinds of places aside from just the Middle East. But yeah, um, there's this tweet. I don't know who this guy is. I never care who these people are when I find these tweets. But there's a like a long kind of, it looks like a post. It looks like on Snapchat or something. I don't know. It's from an anonymous source, so I think it's from somebody. Okay, it's from a person who I think is anonymously claiming that they are one of these OnlyFans girls that has gone to one of these things and has had this stuff happen to her. And it's really yeah, she probably said no to some shit and they fucked her up and dumped her. Yeah, it's crazy that the Dubai police, they don't give a shit. Dubai is kind of like, it seems like for a while it's been trying to promote itself as like a, if you're, like, didn't Andrew Tate live in Dubai? Like, it seems like Dubai is trying to be the place where, like, if you're rich, you can come here and live here and, like, shit will be good. Let me see if it's even worth it to pull up text like this on the screen. And then I'll read what I got over here. But here, let me move myself. I like myself over on the right side better for some reason. Alright, yeah. So it sounds like this is, it says anonymous on the last slide, but it sounds like it's from some girl. It just says, "I thought within me, no one needs to know that I've traded my body for jewelry and clothes. We're far from home. What happens in Dubai dies in Dubai. Then I made the mistake of accepting that exchange. The appointment was then scheduled for the next day on D-Day." Or sorry, the appointment was then scheduled for the next day. On D-Day, a man came to pick me up at 10. It says 10H. I don't know if that's some other language. 10, 10 o'clock, whatever. From my hotel in a poser Lamborghini Diablo. I don't know if is the word poser. Is that like implying that it's like a fake Lamborghini or? Yeah, picks her up in a Lamborghini Diablo and took me to see Mister. I assume that's just the name she's using. Who approached me. Then he asked me to sign a non-confidence agreement because in Dubai, due to their religion, all secrecy was little and why one night sex I would be this seems like a terribly written thing, like, this is not me fucking up now. Basically and then it says I would be entitled to everything I wanted. Okay, yeah, so basically it sounds like this rich guy in Dubai is having her sign a non-disclosure agreement to and he's gonna do weird shit to her. So he quickly handed me a bag of bills to the guy who came to pick me up, who more looked like bodyguard. Yeah, there's just typos. Due to physical advantage and ordered him to take me shopping. Then he handed me a big envelope. I had a dream day, and amongst Dubai's major stores, among restaurants, massage parlors, giant it says giant shoppings. I would assume it means giant shoppings. Giant shoppings and mails, etc. For the first time, I was able to buy an original Chanel bag and was that Hermes? I can't read that shit. Sandals. I bought perfumes, clothes from, some fancy shit, Prada, Louis Vuitton wallets, Balenciaga, whatever. She buys a bunch of stuff on this guy's dime. I couldn't believe it. It seemed like a dream. I was so happy with my shopping. I really didn't care what came next. Around 22, I don't know what time. What fucking time is 22 in whatever time this is in? Around sometime, the bodyguard came to pick me up and took me to the house of the billionaire man. We were stationed in his mansion by the sea. We went to the pier. We entered a super sophisticated boat and we went to the sea. OMG, my ordeal was about to begin. He wasn't alone. There were 4 other men with him. I didn't have the right to talk. I just had to hold on until it was over. Around 22 again. Oh no, that's the same thing. I thought I would only have to deal with one man. Everything was changing already. No, I don't even have words. It was far more than I could handle that night. I was their sexual object, actually the object of their sexual sadism. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, they penetrated me in all the holes. I'm sorry. I know this is obviously like not a person who speaks English, but you know, all the holes. Jesus, I'm terrible at this. They penetrated me in all the holes. They put me on a leash. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so Drunken Japan had this completely right. They put me on a leash and I was forced to have sex with a dog. So, like, nothing that Drunken Japan said was over exaggerating. Like, he talked about camels and shit and like animals. Yeah, this is a girl saying that. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was forced to have sex with a dog. Dot 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 and big. I couldn't speak. They tied me up with a gag that had a pink ball. They shoved things into. I can't fucking read this, man. I didn't read this before I got on here. Like, I found this earlier and was like, "Oh, I'll bring this up tonight. This is perfect." I think I read like 2 sentences and was like, "Oh, yeah, this is the same topic." I only wanted to bring this up because, like I said, it got brought up on the channel like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I know military time. It takes me a long time to that's why I just kinda asked because I don't wanna sit here and count. Yeah, dude, the dog thing, they shove things into my, anus and vagina. She's just describing shit now. So suffocating, C held her up, that's more typo, while they scrubbed in my face, my own feet, choked me with their dick till I threw up multiple times, made me drink my vomit, Jesus, one pissed on my face, and, uh, yeah, uh I don't like how she refers to shit as fecal cake. She says, someone shit in her mouth and made her swallow all that fecal cake. Yeah, this is like the worst language barrier I've ever experienced in my life, and a bunch of other unexplainable ISAS things, a bunch of unexplainable stuff. I'm assuming it's something like that. After doing all this, I was thrown in the water, and the boss told his bodyguard to get me out of the water. He then gave me a big towel to cover myself. I was shaking, crying uncontrollably. I could feel my ass bleeding and my swollen vagina full of bruises and sore. I smelled filth, a mixture of feces, urine, and it says acid sperm. I don't know. I mean, I assume it's just like, you know, checked into my hotel around 4 a.m. in a state of shame. My friend came to see me around 9 o'clock, saw me in this condition, and told me, "My dear, you'll get used to it." Okay, so her friend is just like down with this stuff. I remember seeing her on a boat last night, like me. I was shocked how she could put me through this. Today I feel dirty. I lost my humanity, my dignity. I want to die. Everything I got, those expensive gifts and $1 million purchases in exchange tonight disgust me. Months go by and I still smell shit, piss. I'm now using my own words and sperm in my mouth as if they're being deposited in me now. Yeah, dude, this is fucking crazy. Um, I needed to talk about this because no one knows what she been through until today, except my friend. She destroyed me. I know she will read it. I just want her to know that she ruined my life. I don't even know if I'll ever have kids one day. I'm so broken. I think about suicide all the time. I think I'm going crazy. I hear voices whispering, "Oh, Jesus." Where there's silence, I close my eyes and remember that moment, and they're just laughing and having fun. I feel again, see hero of those feet everywhere. There's something about the feet. I sometimes catch myself screaming and crying with no apparent explanation. Thank you for not judging me. I made mistakes and trusted the wrong person. My greed and ambition today makes me pay dearly. Yeah, it makes Vince McMahon look like a normal, a normal person. Makes yeah, it really does. Well, I guess if you're gonna do OnlyFans, don't go to those parties in Dubai. They're not gonna be worth it. I don't know where, I don't think there's really been an update. I think the last thing is just that she's still in the hospital. She's in, like, critical condition. And then, yeah, it says, "Was used as wealthy sheik's sex slave in Twisted Party." So that, I guess, complete kinda change of topic, but not entirely. Speaking of wealthy Middle Eastern oil sheiks, that movie I watched, Gas Pump Girls, it's hilarious. Like I said, 1979, just like a raunchy comedy, I guess. So what happens in that movie is these girls that have just graduated high school, like the beginning of the movie is their graduation, and then one of the girls' uncle, who he owns a gas station that's kind of like doing bad in business. He has a heart attack, and she decides to take over the gas station with her and her friends. And there's a gas station across the street that's like way more popular. And so to compete, the girls basically, wear not a lot of clothes and attract a bunch of dudes to the gas station. So the gas station across the street, like the owner pulls some strings and he calls like the gas company that delivers the gas to the gas stations and tells them, don't bring gas to this other gas station, the one that the girls are running. And so the way the girls end up fixing this and getting gas delivered back to the gas station is they all dress up like the most, like, 1979 cliche, like, Arabian, I guess, like, oil they look like they're from the movie Aladdin. It's like these girls in, like, belly dancing costumes, and they've got the face covers on, and they trick the company into thinking that they're, like, wealthy oil sheiks from the Middle East, and, they go in there and, they convince the guy to start delivering gas to them again. But, yeah, everything in the Middle East has always sounded, um I don't know, I guess I don't know how to say it without sounding like an asshole, but, it sounds like you got a bunch of rich dudes that are paying OnlyFans girls to come over and make them eat your shit. and have sex with dogs. And like I said, it has to be happening in a bunch of different countries because Drunken Japan talked about it on here. And, he lived in Japan. He didn't live in the Middle East. I don't know what goes on in Japan. I would assume the levels of depravity have to do with like the country, like the people in the country. And so I can't imagine like anyone in Japan doing something like that. I don't know. I'm sure there's people like that everywhere, but the dog stuff is like that's not that the line wasn't drawn sooner, but once you get to the dog stuff, it's like, okay, like I can't do this anymore. I can't read this. This is another stream, and I'm hoping that the more shows up on Twitch because I want him to talk about there's like pyramid stuff going on right now, and I don't really know much about it. Let's see on I found something that says experts are now even more confident that a vast city exists under the Giza pyramids in Egypt after new discovery. I only found this because there was a tweet from some guy who says, so basically we got full confirmation that the Nephilim built the pyramids and that a massive flood wiped them out, and we're all just acting like that's no big deal. Especially Drake and his group that shit with dogs. Oh Jesus. I gotta find that. It sounds like Drake's career is over. I mean, aside from that terrible Kendrick Lamar song, now that you're talking about Drake and his crew doing stuff with dogs, it sounds like Drake's just kind of done, which is a huge bummer because I'm not gonna say I was ever a Drake fan, but back in like 2011, we were into Drake. My friends and I used to listen to Drake. Just whatever he had up until like 2012 was stuff that we listened to. Pretty much after 2012, I stopped listening. But yeah, we went through a big Drake phase. Drake, Lil Wayne, mostly like the Young Money group. That was kind of our thing. I had that. I had Young Money's CD, their album on CD. I think it was just called We Are Young Money. It was like their first album that they all did together. They all did all the songs and whatnot. The album with Bedrock. And yeah, we always liked Drake. I always thought Drake was cool. Yeah, there's always people that are still gonna be cool with these guys. You know, people that can separate art from artist, or people that twist themselves into pretzels to make defenses. I don't make defenses for like musicians and artists and directors and whatnot that do things that I don't like. I just can separate art from it. I think it's you hear stories about like the dudes in Led Zeppelin doing shit with like 14, 16, 17-year-old girls. Yeah, I'm not going to defend it. I like Led Zeppelin a lot. I think they're like the gods of rock and roll. But yeah, yeah. Drake is best when he's singing about girls. Drake is definitely best when he's singing sappy shit about girls. That's kind of the role that he filled because it was like in the world of hip hop and rap, not everyone is singing about, not a lot of people are singing like sappy shit about girls. They're singing, they're singing about paying girls to to do wealthy oil chic stuff to them on boats and stuff. Let me try to find this thing. I think it's on Daily Mail. I get emails from Daily Mail, and I don't know why. I don't remember ever like signing up for. Not that I sign up for any emails that I get. Actually, the only emails I really like sign up for are just when I forget to uncheck the box when I buy something online. But as far as like news websites that send me emails, I'm like, yeah, why am I getting this? But I do get some things from Daily Mail. This is where I got the pyramid stuff. Yeah. I think this is old news by this point too. Was it March 26th? No, this was yeah, this was posted like 2 days ago. Um, so I don't know why this guy is tweeting about how there's Nephilim involved. I don't know. It doesn't sound like this article that I'm about to read mentions Nephilim at all, but scientists on a mission to prove a vast city sits more than 4,000 feet below Egypt's Giza pyramids have released a new analysis they say proves the findings to be true. Last week, the team in Italy presented bombshell research that claims to have discovered multi-thousand foot tall walls in chambers, or wells in chambers under the Khafre pyramid. I don't know if it's Khafre or Khafre. If true, it would turn Egyptian and human history on its head, though independent experts have said the discovery is completely wrong and lacked any scientific basis. Which, yeah, sounds about right. Anytime you find out about anything, you know, the next article is going to tell you that it's wrong, so you just never actually know what to think. Researchers said they determined a confidence level well above 85%. That the structures identified beneath the pyramids of Khafre, as well as those beneath other pyramids on the Giza plateau, exist. The wells and chambers were identified by sending high frequency electromagnetic waves into the subsurface, and the way signals bounced back allowed researchers to map structures beneath the pyramid. The team used a specialized algorithm to process the data and create the images that showed what looked like wells with spiral formations leading to enormous chambers. They cross-checked the structures with known architectural forms, specifically those accessible to us today, such as the Pozzo di San Patrizio in Italy. These names are fucking Italian. Nicole, it literally says Nicole Sickle. Like, yeah, an Italian name that I cannot pronounce properly. The project spokesperson shared with dailymail.com. Professor Lawrence Conyers, a radar expert at the University of Denver who focuses on archaeology and was not involved with the study, said to make correlation confidence levels, there needs to be something to correlate or compare to what could be here. Without that, those percentages are meaningless scientifically. Right before I got off the stream last night, the more on Twitch, he was saying that he basically was saying that ancient Egypt doesn't even exist. Like it's like a thing that has been made up somewhere along the lines. So I'm hoping he shows up in chat at some point, just because that would be cool to hear what like his take on any of that stuff is. I like the idea of there being like Nephilim and ancient Egyptians and shit. I always thought ancient Egyptians must have been like the dudes that knew everything. But yeah, I'm like super down to hear this guy talk about why he just, I mean, that's why I like having him in chat because he's always the one, I'll say something like, "Oh yeah, ancient Egypt sounds cool," and he's like, "Yeah, ancient Egypt is not even a real thing." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But yeah, so of course, someone tweets about this. I don't know how, I don't know what conclusion, I don't know if I'm reading the wrong article, but yeah, this guy tweeted, so basically we got full confirmation that the Nephilim built the pyramids and that a massive flood wiped them out, and we're just acting like that's no big deal. I don't know where the Nephilim came from. I mean, I'm down for it. I need to, I need to see more than just what this Daily Mail article said. I guess the thing about Nephilim is that if you believe that Nephilim were real, don't you have to believe in the Bible? Like, don't you have to believe in, don't you have to believe that what the Bible says was all reality at one point? That's kind of my that's kind of my only hang up on it is that, I'm not sure about the Bible itself because Nephilim are like a very specific thing, you know. I guess you could argue that maybe there were giants back then, that just was a thing, but, like, Nephilim, the word itself is, they come from angels and human women, which would mean you have to believe in angels, which would mean you have to believe in, the Bible and angels and whatnot, and that's always kind of my gripe with it. Yeah, that's why I think people associate it with it too, because people wonder, like, how are humans building pyramids with all that stuff back then if they didn't have giants, like, assisting them or, doing it the whole thing itself. But I do think it's a little bit of a stretch to read this article and see, I think what he's saying is because they said they found a vast city that sits more than 4,000 feet below the pyramids. So the guy is saying, "Oh, well, then there must have been Nephilim." Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, Andre the Giant is probably a good example of, you know, and compared to like ancient Nephilim, he was probably a small person who just had like a little bit of that old school DNA in him. Turned out the way he did. I got to work on segues because I segue terribly from one topic to the next, especially when my topics are OnlyFans girl in Dubai getting shit on and fucking dogs, and then pyramids in ancient Egypt, and then, let me see, my next one is that girl that says she dated Andrew Tate. And then after that, once I get to, like, free for all after these 3 topics, I think I might pull up this 9/11 documentary that the Moore sent me yesterday. I have to try to get the link from my phone onto the computer, though. Let me see, I think it was on BitChute. Yeah, it turns out everything good is on BitChute. Let's see. Yeah, I got it right. I was definitely bummed out to learn that, BitChute has ads. I don't know why I always assumed BitChute, like, wouldn't have ads, but, it does. Alright. That's up. That's up whenever I need it. Yo, what's up, Jordan? What are you up to? What are you up to tonight? I've been doing, a pretty wide array of genre tonight. Um, I think we're gonna go straight into the Andrew Tate's ex-girlfriend, thread on Twitter. Got a bunch of my friends over. What's up? What's up to all the homies? What's up to all the homies? Hopefully you guys are not paying OnlyFans girls to fuck dogs and shit in their mouths. Cause that'd be no good. I don't know if you guys have the money to do that anyways either. We're watching you on the TV. Oh, that's terrible. We're drunk as fuck. I would hope so. I would hope so. I would hope if I'm pulled up on your TV right now that you're drunk as fuck. Disco Acid with the homies. Disco Acid homies would be a good shirt. Yeah, Jordan, what are you guys drinking? What are you guys drinking? What are you guys drinking? And while you're drunk, what are your thoughts on Andrew Tate? Since you're drunk, you can probably be honest about what you think about Andrew Tate. Do you guys think he's the man? Do you guys think he looks fucking goofy? Do you guys think he's, can you let us join? No, I can't pull people on while I'm on or whatever. Or not in this, it's hard to explain. The streaming service I have has, they're called rooms. So, like, when I do, I've got, like, 3 different rooms set up where it's, like, one I can invite people on, that's what I do when I have guests on, and then one is for solo, like I said, this was planned on being a solo stream, so I don't have the ability to send the link like I usually do or whatever. I can't go wrong with Natty Light. Honestly, I dig his message, but the ego's off the charts. Yeah, I think he kinda lost the message a while ago. Like fame changes people and shit and all that cheesy stuff. I think a while ago he had a message, and then now it's just kind of, he's famous and rich. I've always wondered how rich he actually is. That's one thing. I definitely. I mean, obviously, he's richer than me. Like, I'm not trying to say anything about his level of wealth being lame or anything, but I've always been curious about how rich he actually is. Alright, so, we're on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I get all this shit on Twitter. There's this girl named Bree Stern. Her name is, yeah, the Bree Stern. And if you look at her Twitter, it looks like she only has an Instagram. So I don't know, maybe that's a good sign. Maybe she does not have an OnlyFans, which, is a pleasant surprise these days. What's cool, man? Let me hop on again sometime. I definitely wanna. Yeah, dude, no, dude, I definitely wanna bring you on again sometime. It's been a long time, and all my co-hosts have been flaking, like, pretty consistently anyways, so I'm in need of a new co-host. I need a co-host with, like, a setup, though. Like, damn near if we roll well together, dude, I will damn near send you this laptop and my like, a backup microphone and make you, like, become a co-host. Like, the whole thing is a gimmick with Tate. Yeah, the whole thing is definitely a gimmick. It's, you know I think that's part of it. I mean, I guess you have to have a gimmick nowadays. That's probably where I'm lacking is that I don't have a gimmick. I'm just on here, like, talking awkwardly and it's quiet. Yeah, so this girl, Bree Stern, she tweets dude, it's like a whole thread. Like, it's, here we go. It's this girl. Dude, she's even got the picture with it looks like I don't know, like a bruised cheek. Yeah, my name is Bree Stern. I'm from Los Angeles. I met Andrew Tate in the summer of 2024, and we were in a relationship for almost a year. I would hope somebody has already checked, like, if they can find out where he was in the summer of 2024. We met because he needed models for his crypto coin. I don't even understand. Like, that's a sentence that doesn't compute in my brain. And promised to help me save my crypto coin sister. What the fuck is this? You can, like, click, whatever. I'll click on that later. We spent as much time together as we could, but when we weren't physically together, we were in communication all day, every day. Oh god, she's got the picture. This guy's gay. Dude, for how much this guy talks like he's the man, only gay dudes are seen, like, taking kissing pictures like that with their girlfriends. Like, don't get me wrong, I take pictures with my girlfriends, but not, like, mid-kiss like that. That's, like, the gayest thing you could do. Yeah, dude, we could definitely, even though like you mentioned FaceTime, like, I could bring you on, like, here, but not live, you know what I mean? Like, I can use this as a FaceTime thing, you know? So, yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, it's kinda like it's essentially like Skype if I do it on here. I would just send the link, and then you'd pop up on screen with me, and then I just don't click go live, you know what I mean? He was my best friend. I stood by his side unwaveringly. We made plans to God, this picture is so fucking gay. And, it looks like it's her arm that's taking the picture, like, I'll give him that. But, like, when your girlfriend wants to take a picture of you 2, like, lips together, no. No. No way. Especially, like, this dude's definitely older than me too, If you're, like, 17, dude, I'll even give you up until, like, 24 to be taking pictures like this at the most. there's gonna be some context in that scenario, but, no, this is just gay as fuck. This whole thing is gay as fuck. I'm gonna take this picture and make it my background. Like, right now, it's the Sabrina Carpenter Eiffel Tower. This is gonna become my new background. Oh my god. He wanted to start a new life together once he arrived in the US. He wanted me to have his children, and it sounds like this girl's just falling for shit, honestly. It sounds like he's putting her through the ringer, and she's falling for it at this point. He wanted me to have his children and always told me we would be together forever. I'm pretty sure I've told every single girlfriend I've ever had that I wanted to be with her forever. Like, I'm not even over exaggerating. I think, like, at least a large majority of girls that I've been with, we've mentioned the word forever. And at least half of them, I was kind of just being nice. Andrew told me he loved me every day, and I was very much in love with him. Oh, we got text messages too. I hate text message screenshots because it's just like the easiest shit to fake. Despite the fact that he has hurt me so badly, I still love him. Maybe that is Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. Oh, we got texts. Oh my god, dude. I I don't know if I believe these texts, because who's texting their girl saying, "You need to be hit"? I don't know. I'm not defending the guy, but that seems a little on the nose to me. This seems a little, like, it's a little on the nose. Like, you should try a little bit, especially a dude who understand like, he has to understand his position in the world. I think he realizes that he can't get caught texting girls saying, "You need to be hit." She texts him and says, "I'm having anxiety," and he says, "You need to be hit." Why? I don't like it. What did I do? You deserve it. Oh, this is awesome. The last time I saw Andrew was on March 11th, 2025 at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And the last words he said to me before I left the hotel were, "Shut the fuck up, bitch. You will never backtalk me. You are my property." Dude, this is like literally something Charles Manson said in his 1997, his 90s. There's a parole hearing in like the 90s where Charles Manson talks about how the world lives in a matriarchy, but he lives in a patriarchy. And he says something along the lines of, "You back up to your women. I don't back up to my women. I don't take lip from my women. If they hit me, I hit them back." Like, and keep in mind, this is a parole hearing. This is Manson trying to get paroled. This is how kind of out there this guy was. That while he's trying to get let out of prison, he's talking about how he whoops ass when it comes to women. And he doesn't live in a matriarchy. He lives in a patriarchy. So we got more texts. Her background is now pink for whatever reason. Looks like Andrew Tate says, "If you're mine, why wouldn't I be able to hit you?" And then just a random okay. She says, "You scared me with what you said." And he says, "Are you scared of me?" And she says, "Physical violence for me is a huge no. I don't even like when you hit me during sex. It scares me." Due to the events that had transpired in the early hours of that day, as well as his final degrading words, something just clicked. I finally recognized that someone who truly loved me wouldn't say those things to me or hurt me repeatedly the way that he did. I think for the first time, I realized the gravity of the situation. Here she is sending a seductive picture of herself and then saying, "Why are you being mean in other chat?" He says, "Because I want." Dude, like, I don't wanna be the guy that's like, I don't believe her. I really don't, but dude, these texts, there's no way the texts are real. Like, I believe her that the guy is a dick. The guy probably is a total dick. I don't believe that he's sending girls texts to say, "Because I want to beat the fuck out of you. You will give me a child this year, bitch. Why do you want to beat me? It's 12:30 AM." I like how she's like, "Why do you wanna beat me, dude? It's 12:30 in the morning. Isn't it a little too late or a little too early to be whooping my ass?" This wasn't a joke or an internet facade. This was the reality of my boyfriend and my life, and I needed to take back control. "You're my property," echoed in my brain, and I knew that was not the future I wanted for myself or my future children. It was not easy, but I gathered the courage to do what I had contemplated doing for a long time. Leave him. I grabbed my things and walked out of the hotel and out of our relationship. That day, even though I was terrified, I made a promise to myself that I would not go back no matter what he said, no matter what he did. I blocked his numbers, blocked him on all social media platforms and on all communication apps. Went to a doctor, I went to the police. The last week has been very difficult and extremely scary for me. I'm an emotional wreck and I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. I'm not the person I was before. Andrew texted me recently and let me know if you ever betray me, you will regret it. He has told me on many occasions before that if I crossed him, he would ruin my life, rape me, or kill me. Apparently, he texts her and says, I really love hitting you. It's very good for me. And you. It's relaxing, don't you think? Dude, like, the thing is, like, I think famous people, that, they realize, like, as much as you might not like him, and as much as I think he's, a fucking dick or whatever, he's not retarded. Like, he's clearly not retarded. I talk about this all the time. I think people need to stop calling famous, rich people retarded. Like, clearly, he has, like, enough of something in his head to make the money he's made and become the celebrity that he's become, Like, I don't think you're texting people when you're in that position, "I really love hitting you, it's very good for me." I don't think you're texting girls in that position, "I wanna beat the fuck out of you. You will give me a child this year, bitch." This is like when this is like in high school when you had a spirit week and they had opposite day where the girls came to school dressed like boys and the boys dressed like girls. And all the girls, every single girl at school just wore a backwards snapback hat and a flannel shirt. Because girls don't know what it's like to be a dude. So in their minds, they just think, what do guys do? Oh, they wear backwards hats and flannels. Like that's all they comprehend about what it's like to be a man. And same with dudes. All the dudes came to school just like wearing dresses. Like girls don't just wear dresses all the time. The guys don't get that because they're not fucking girls. This is she like I said, I'm not believing her. I'm not believing these texts. I don't believe these texts. There's no name on the okay, yeah, there is right there. Andrea new number. You know, Obviously, like I said earlier, texts I think are like the easiest thing to make up in the world. No, there's more to it. I haven't been opening the text all the way. It says, "What's the point in having you if I don't beat you and impregnate you? You should be thankful." Yeah, I don't think he's texting girls these things, especially in the summer of 2024. He's already been on trial for all this stuff like 100 times. Like he's been in and out of court for the last fucking 20 years. Why is he texting girls? If I don't beat you and impregnating you, what's the point in having you? Yeah, I don't believe the texts. I believe everything else, but I don't believe the texts. Coming out about this is really terrifying in all aspects. The entire situation is very traumatic and extremely difficult. I consider many times just silently leaving Andrew and saying nothing, doing nothing, because I was scared and because it was honestly hard for me to accept that I was being abused. I can now see that doing so would be the cowardly approach. I know I can't be silent. I have to make my voice heard, no matter how difficult that road may be. I also know there are many women out there who are in the same position as me, terrified and scared, who are being hurt by the person who is supposed to love them most. To those women, I say you are much stronger than you know. I know firsthand how hard it can be to even talk about it, but I urge you find your voice. You are not alone. Walk away and talk. She's doing okay. We got the idea. She says he and his followers will insult me and attack me. I don't care because I speak the truth. I will not comment further about Andrew Tate beyond what my lawyer has set forth in detail in my lawsuit. Those facts speak for themselves. Yeah, it's just the texts. It's the text messages. I'm hesitant to scroll down because I'm like afraid that a nude is gonna pop up for some reason. Okay, yeah, so we got a picture of her with this messed up cheek. I can't tell. I mean, I can see the mark that it looks like she's saying is the bruise from, you know, but, I'm not I can't tell by these. Yeah, I'm down for the story, I'm just not down for the text messages. That's really it. Oh my god. There's a tweet. So in the responses to these tweets, alright, let's go through some of these responses. I'm not gonna pull them up on screen just because 'cause I'm scrolling and I don't wanna be surprised with some shit that will get me in trouble on YouTube. So we have a response from some guy named Phil. He says, "So he liked rough sex and you stayed and submitted even though it wasn't your thing. But when he was done with you, you exposed texts while leaving out the grand context. Typical." So people are already not having it with this girl. Somebody says, "Next time, don't betray your fellow women by dating a man who has harmed women and girls. Did you think you were special and somehow you're better than all these other girls he has done this to? And you thought you're too pretty or too good for it to happen to you? Predictable." Some guy named Lucas says, "You look better beaten, in my opinion." Dude, Twitter is crazy. Someone named Tara says, "I say this with concern. I don't think it's ever helpful to post deeply personal relationship issues on social media. This man has children, and someday they might see all of this. If you went to the police, let them take it from here. You seem really emotional right now, and that's understandable, but ask yourself, what do you truly hope to gain from sharing all this publicly, especially about someone you said you blocked?" Let's see. Somebody tweeted and said, "Is his dick small?" That's the first question that I came up with. Somebody tweeted and said, she's probably trying to pump up her crypto coin. Because remember like the first tweet, she said she had her own crypto coin. People can just start their own crypto coins. Like, is that a thing? Like, could we make disco crypto? Is that something that could happen sometime in the future? I didn't realize that people could just like make their own form of currency nowadays. Like, I can just make dollar bills with my face on them instead, basically. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't pull this all up on screen because as I scroll down here, there's a video of a girl who's not wearing any clothes. um, Nick Fuentes is in the responses, and he just says, "We do not believe you." Oh my god. Someone says, "Let's look at the facts. Cover photo is of you in a bikini with a cigarette in your mouth, both of which are not behaviors men would want to see in a woman they want to marry. I would leave you too. 100% bop certified." Yes, people are crazy. When I was younger, when I was in high school, I was one of those dudes that I smoked cigarettes, but I didn't like dating girls that smoked cigarettes. Nowadays, a girl that smokes cigarettes, like the cigarettes is like 2 extra points in my book. Like girls that smoke cigarettes are like top of the chart for me. I would prefer to date a girl that smokes cigarettes. All right, now we're getting into the, how everyone in the comments is victim blaming and victim shaming. We're getting okay, so we're getting onto the people that side with her, which is good. I would hope she has an even side on both sides. Someone says, "So are we supposed to act like a red spot on your cheek is evidence of abuse?" That is one thing I will say. She talked about this guy like he fucked her up, like he was the devil, and she posted one picture of like her with kind of like some blush on her cheek, basically. Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that doesn't believe these people. I just, I wait. I wait. I go back and forth on both sides. Even like with the Vince McMahon thing, I'm still not entirely convinced that what's that girl's name? The girl that's like suing him, the one that kind of blew everything open. Something Grant, Janelle Grant. You know, I'm not convinced that she's not just a girl who got with Vince for money, and then when he, stopped paying her, she came out and said all this shit. I'm not saying that's what I think is happening, but there's some things about it that seem weird to me. Right, like half of the Janelle Grant story is that she was broke when she met Vince, like she was down in the dumps and broke and like in desperate need of money. But then it says that she met him in the penthouse, like the building. She lived in the building with him. Like that's how they met. Am I missing something there? Like how are you broke but you're living in the same building as Vince McMahon? What do you mean? There's things about it. I'm also not entirely convinced. Same with the text messages. I just don't like screenshots of text messages nowadays as some form of evidence because it's just too easy. Like those texts that she presented and said they're from Vince. I don't think Vince McMahon texts like that. I feel like Jim Cornette said they were believable. That is how he texts. I don't know. I don't think that's how Vince McMahon texts. I just that's not the that's like not the impression I get of that guy texting. You know, I'm sure he did do a bunch of dirtbag shit. I'm sure he did do a bunch of weird stuff, but that's not really the question. I think the question is, did she willingly go along with all the stuff for money? But that's kind of a whole separate story. That's kind of a whole different thing. But yeah, this girl, it's just the text messages. That's really it. I don't think, I'll give a little bit of credit to Andrew Tate. I don't think he's fucking retarded enough in 2024 to be texting girls about how he wants to beat the fuck out of them and how they need to have his babies. It could change my yeah, you could change your friend's name and just do the whole thing. They could have this whole conversation with them and conversation with you and whatever. It's just yeah, I think text messages are like the easiest thing to fake nowadays. But see, I don't like them as a source of, or some kind of evidence. I do like she said she's suing him. So, like, at least, I guess at least she's taking, like, a legal route, that is something. It's not like she's just saying this on the internet and then that's all it's gonna. Some girls seem to do that. They just say stuff on the internet just to kind of, like, I guess, hurt a reputation or something. I don't know. I have no idea. I know there's a bunch of people that I think get mad at, like, opinions like this, but I just think we live in, like, a time where, like, accusations are thrown around, like, way too easily. And as soon as the accusation is made, like, it's over. It's done. It's completely over. Somebody could show up in my comments and say that like I paid a girl to bang out a dog in Dubai, and everybody would be like, "Oh my god, he's a terrible person." I'm like, "Bro, I can't afford to go to Dubai," but it wouldn't matter. Like somebody made the accusation, you know. One of the first, or not like first, but there was this streamer on YouTube named Lyrix, and he basically just covered like YouTube drama, like internet drama. And he covered the story where these two like Minecraft streamers. I'm gonna start sounding old now because I didn't fucking know there was like such a thing as like specifically Minecraft streamers. There was like this couple, or not even a couple. It was like a boy and a girl, and they went to a party or something. And it sounds like they might have like snuggled on a couch while drinking. And then like a week later or something, the girl came out and basically said that he assaulted her and it was terrible. And it basically like ruined the kid's life and he lost all of, his fan base. And then kind of shortly after stuff started coming out that she was like clearly faking shit. She was lying. And people started coming out and saying that's not what she's saying is not true. And, all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, it's we're just kind of like in that era of like girls can just come out and say things. And it's just like, well, she said it, so it must be true. And then the worst part is once the headlines are printed, that's all that matters. So, like, now whenever you Google that kid's name, the first things that are gonna come up are, "This guy accused of this," and it, just look bad. You just see the headlines and like, "Oh, yeah, this guy must have been a real dirtbag to be getting accused of these things." So, I've always been one of those, like, you gotta wait till the trial's over. We've been waiting for, like, fucking 50 years now for the Vince McMahon, Janelle Grant stuff to happen, for that trial to go through. It seems like that's, taken forever. I'm honestly kinda curious about Brock Lesnar's, part, like, what's gonna happen with Brock. I mean, Brock, has, like, a wife and kids and shit. But there's been nothing about, like, Sable leaving Brock, so, you know, I'm I don't know, I guess I'm hesitant to think that Brock Lesnar was, like, all that involved. The weirdest stuff about Vince McMahon that I think I do totally believe is that, I think Janelle talked about how Vince always talked about, like, watching her get banged out by, like, a gang of muscular, sweaty dudes. I'm like, well, yeah, when you think about Vince and, like, his weird thing with buff guys, like the World Bodybuilding Federation or whatever. Okay, so I'm late to this. They settled the McMahon case. So what did he just pay her and it's over? They paid the lady and Brock was confirmed in that shit. Okay, okay. But wait, so they paid her and she just said, "Okay, cool, like we're all good." Doesn't that kind of I guess his wife forgave him. Yeah, who's gonna hold a grudge against Brock Lesnar? Man, the family dynamic in the Lesnar household is something I'm very curious about. Is Sable telling Brock what to do? Is Brock having to clean up after himself and shit? But okay, so yeah, so they settled. That girl settled. Shouldn't that girl not settle? Like if this stuff has really been done to you, like shouldn't you really push for like I want this guy to be punished? Yeah, she took the money and moved on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that pushes me towards Vince, honestly. Yeah, I'm sure he did do all that weird stuff, but that pushes me toward like she was just, she was in this shit for money. 'Cause, yeah, there's no way. There's no way. If I was, I guess I'm a dude, so I'm not entirely in the mindset of a girl, but I feel like if that stuff was done to me, in any case, whether I'm still a dude or whether I'm a girl, especially once I'm that far, like, once I'm in the trial and, like, the public was like, she had everyone's on her side, like, everyone hates Vince now. Like, even wrestling fans, like, ungrateful wrestling fans that don't know how to, don't know anything about nuance, like, they can't appreciate what he did and also acknowledge that, yeah, he's done a lot of weird fucking gross shit, but everyone hates him now, like, she really should, you think she'd keep pushing forward, "Hey, I've got the entire fucking country on my side." Um, we pretty much live in the era where, like, when, the accusatory party says something in court, they're just kinda believed. Yeah, no, her taking the money and moving on, that doesn't sound good to me. Yeah, no, him being a weirdo is not a surprise. I wish Dirty White Boy was on here because he's the one, I try to proceed with caution, like, I'm like, "Yeah, Vince, he did a lot of bad stuff," but Trey will just be like, "No, fuck it, I love Vince McMahon. Vince is the man." I'm like, "Okay, dude." I need Trey next to me at all times so I never get in trouble. This whole stream I think would get me in trouble, but, you know, luckily I'm still in the part of my career where no one's gonna watch anything, so we're good. I think I need to start, I think I need to start or not even start, just, like, finish, at least just start working on actual videos like I've been saying I'm gonna do for, like, a year now. Like I said, I literally have one entire video written out. I just need to, like, sit here and say it on camera and then, edit stuff. 'Cause the streaming stuff, like, just purely streaming is obviously not, getting any job done. Instagram engagement has been terrible lately too. I don't know if that's just me or if that's been with everyone, but, like, nothing on Instagram is, like doing anything. And I know it's Instagram engagement. I mean, I always complain about Instagram engagement, but I know it is because You can look at, you see how many people viewed your story, and it's like an absurd. Let me see. Yeah, like my stories, like my last story that I mean, it was 3 hours ago, but it was viewed by 4 people. And then my, first story from 22 hours ago, 16 people. Dude, there's like 676 followers, which I'm not saying is a lot, but out of 676 people that followed the page because they, came across clips and obviously followed the page out of some kind of interest, like only 16 click on a story. I don't think so. I think that's Instagram's like weird engagement. And I always know this is true because, like I said, you go to, here's some girl Here's some girl that posts pictures of her in her underwear, 1.3 million followers. Her post yesterday got 22,000 likes. There's no way that only 22,000 people out of 1.3 million are liking a picture of a girl in her underwear that they followed because they obviously found at one point and were interested in following. So yeah, Instagram is terrible. I don't think Instagram shows anybody shit from the people that they follow. All right, let's see if the more shows up. I'm gonna pull up this documentary. I'm gonna find a. I don't even know what good part I was gonna bring up because it's a fucking 4 hour long documentary. Yeah, Instagram is dying supposedly. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's a bummer because I like Instagram. Like that's the thing. I like it. It's TikTok is way too harsh with its like guidelines and whatnot. TikTok you can't be smoking a cigarette like in a post. They'll take that shit down. And Instagram is very random with what it chooses to take down and whatever, but I think because of that kind of randomness, it's way more lenient. Like I said, the first disco page got taken down from TikTok within a couple months, and then um, Instagram did end up fucking my original one eventually, but it was more lenient in the time that I was using it for the Manson and true crime stuff. But yeah, I could believe that it's dying. I just don't know what are we gonna move to TikTok? I thought TikTok was is TikTok not going away? I guess TikTok did. I haven't heard anything about anyone buy it. Does someone buy it? I didn't think so. I feel like has it been 90 days or have we are the 90 days just not up yet? And I just have no concept of the passage of time. All right, let me put this up. I guess I'm just gonna go through some of this and then I don't have much else to do. See how much longer I hang out here.
End all wars. Action. War.
What I saw from this was really cool. I only watched like the first 30 minutes just because I ended up falling asleep. But I definitely will finish the whole thing at some point. I'm curious what this one goes for, because I know the more he's into the idea that there were no planes at all, and he's the one that recommended this documentary, so I would imagine he is saying this documentary is gonna go that route if there were no planes at all. So far in the first 30 minutes, it's basically there was, like, 30 minutes of, like, news coverage the day it happened. I actually got real nostalgic. I missed the quality of, like, CNN and Fox News back in 2001 when people called in on the phones, that audio quality of people talking on the phones. That's what I wish I could get the show to sound like. I wish I could make myself sound like a guy on the phone in 2001, and then maybe I just put up a graphic. I talked about it last night. I kinda regret doing this whole thing with the camera, and I regret calling the channel Disco Acid Cult TV. I should have called it Disco Acid Cult Radio, and then just had this graphic up on the screen like this the whole time, or, whatever graphic I choose. I'd pick a different one by now because 'cause I've moved on from the American flag graphic. And then, it'd just be us talking. There's that YouTube channel Mind Shock that I always talk about, and that's a perfect example. Even the audio quality, it's perfect. It's just a graphic on screen of whatever he's talking about, and his audio quality is like it sounds like you're listening to a radio show in the early 2000s or something like on AM radio. There are some episodes where he tweaks the audio and uses some different effects that I don't like, but his general sound is really like a perfect sound, which I know I could do stuff like that. I have Audacity on my computer. I could change vocal effects, and I could do stuff with my voice when I'm streaming solo, anyways, by myself. I haven't gotten that deep into it yet, but that is stuff that I would like to do. I think, if I ever did, if this channel ever did get a substantial amount of followers, I would do a second channel, and that would be Disco Acid Cult Radio, and everything on there would just be audio, whereas the TV has to have I fucked myself with that TV. There has to be stuff to watch, or at least there has to be some kind of video. You don't have to watch it. It's usually just me sitting here talking, but yeah, this was that one. This is that one that the more recommended.
That's the story we were told. 19 kamikaze Muslim hijackers hated our freedom so much that they took over 4 commercial airliners. They flew them around the northeastern United States. They crashed one into each twin tower. And one into the Pentagon.
Smoke rising up out of what looked like a small pit.
One went down in a Pennsylvania field after a struggle with heroic passengers.
The one that went down after a struggle with heroic passengers makes me think of that iconic tweet from Chris Jericho about what would have happened if the hijackers tried to hijack a plane full of WWE wrestlers. Somewhere there's an alternate timeline where, the hijackers pulled out the box cutters and, like, Kane and The Undertaker stood up and turned around and handled shit the way it should have been handled.
Super hot fires raged inside the towers, melting the steel supports, eventually causing them to collapse under their own weight.
Almost like a mushroom cloud explosion, and I'll tell you that I can't see that second time.
And all of it was masterminded by a guy hiding in a cave in Afghanistan.
That's a great graphic, by the way. I have to point out that's a great graphic of just Osama bin Laden in a cave.
The events of 9/11 were bizarre and unprecedented. Yet the government
Didn't believe in 9/11 at all. He would constantly say, "How in the world would a box cutter be enough to get the job done?" Yeah, the box cutter part of the story is honestly, like, kind of insulting, I think. Like, George Bush and Dick Cheney and whoever else were sitting around thinking up the story that they're gonna tell the people, like, what are we gonna say? "Oh, I know, we'll tell them that they had box cutters." Dude, box cutters, the blade is, like, as big as someone's thumbnail, Like, yeah, they're gonna cut some people. They're definitely gonna cut some people. I don't wanna get cut. I'm trying to think, obviously, I'm always talking about you never know what you do unless you were in that position. Um, no, I don't wanna get cut the fuck up by a box cutter, but I like to think that if I was in a plane full of, I don't know how many people are in, like, passenger planes usually, like, anywhere from, like, 20 and 20 is even low, like, it's 50 to, like, 100 or something? I don't know. I'd like to think that if I'm in a passenger plane full of, people, probably half of them are dudes, that, like, me and half of these dudes are gonna look at these, like, 2 or 3 guys with box cutters and say, "Okay, some of us are gonna get some cuts, but, like, we gotta figure out, we gotta stop these guys." Dude, you just, like, pile on top of them. Yeah, no, dude, a box cutter I've heard somebody trying to defend it by saying that, well, the passengers probably just sat there because they didn't know that what their plans were. They saw these guys with box cutters hijacking the plane, but they didn't realize that they were gonna, be flown to their death into a building. Dude, I don't think that's a good enough excuse. Like, I don't think it matters. I think in that moment, when you see a guy stand up in a plane with a box cutter, you're probably starting to get into life or death mode. Whether you know their plans or not, you're probably thinking, if this goes wrong, I'll die. I need to stop this guy. Okay, yeah, a couple hundred people on there. And yeah, half of them would be dudes. Yeah, it'd be no problem. Like I said, maybe one or two dudes get some cuts, a couple of cuts on his hand or whatever. But yeah, there's no way. There's no way. I know the more likes the theory of there not being any planes at all, just there were no planes at all. The more it usually goes a bit far more than I go with things. But I would be down with the idea that there was only like one person on the plane. It was just the pilot. Or I also like the idea, I don't know, can they fly planes remote? I would imagine they can fly planes remote control, like, especially they say that whatever technology that the higher ups have is obviously way more advanced than what we have. But yeah, I at least liked the idea that there's either just only a pilot, right? They just had, there were no passengers in the planes, or the idea that they were just flying the planes remotely. But and then the more also goes to say like he was saying last night, he doesn't even think there were people in the buildings. There was just nobody. No, the buildings were empty that day. I don't know if that just means they just give everyone the day off, just like, hey, why don't you guys just take tomorrow off or something? Or, there's like crisis actors. That's always a theory that people have. I also don't know if I can go that far either. I probably think there were people in the towers. I think because you have to kill people to if you want. That's the whole point of like 9/11 is that they wanted to outrage. They had a bunch of stuff they wanted to do, and they couldn't, get the people, the population of the country behind them. So what do? You get them outraged and you get them mad at some other country, and then they start kind of letting you do what you want to do. Like the what was it, the Patriot Act? Where they crack down on everything because of terrorism. I remember after 9/11, among me and my friends, the inside or one of the jokes that we came up with was if you ever are on the phone with someone and you say the word bomb, the FBI immediately taps into your phone and starts listening in. So me and my friends used to joke, this is like eighth grade, freshman year of high school. I'm like on a razor with somebody. somebody would intentionally talk about bombs or, just because it was like a joke, like, oh, okay, cool. Now the FBI is listening to us talk. And then I also remember after 9/11, I remember like being a kid and like hearing airplane, like I'd be like in bed, it'd be like, nighttime, trying to sleep. I'd like hear airplanes fly by and I would be scared for like the time that it's going by. Cause in my mind, this airplane's going to fly into the, Osama bin Laden has sent, uh, uh, a guy to fly into, my house and like that's their next goal. Yeah, I was scared of airplanes for like a time when I was a kid. And then I also the funniest one, my buddy tells me, he's like, it's not your fault. You were a kid and this is what was going on. But I remember when I was a kid after 9/11, I was afraid of when you'd see Middle Eastern people with the head wraps and the turbans, I thought there were bombs inside of their head wraps. Like I thought that's what it was, oh, you're hiding your bomb in there. And so whenever I'd be like, with my mom at the grocery store checking out or whatever, if I saw a dude with one of those turbans or head wraps on, I was always like, "Dude, I gotta get the fuck out of here. This thing's gonna go off any minute now." Yeah, I made a joke to my buddy like within the last few years about how I was racist when I was a kid, and he's like, "No, that's what was going on the news. Like you just saw that shit and you were a kid and you didn't know anything." Yeah, walking into 7-Eleven. I even think the fact that they did this whole thing on the day September 11 is kind of like a cruel joke. Like, let's do this shit on 9/11 when people are gonna be calling 911. I don't know. To me, that's like an ironic, like cruel joke that, like Dick Cheney was probably like, let's just do this motherfucker on 9/11 because everyone's gonna be calling 911.
Government wasted no time telling us what happened,
The heat was so intense that the steel melted.
who did it,
Reputed Arab terrorist Osama bin Laden.
and what our response was going to be.
They were acts of war.
I think he's gonna get into it right here. I also never knew. I didn't realize how quickly people started thinking this was bullshit. Like he talks about how pretty immediately like websites start springing up about how this story makes no sense. I didn't realize it was like such a, like the day after 9/11, people were talking about how they think it's bullshit. I also really want to do I'm always thinking way too far ahead. So I have ideas for merch. Like I have Disco Acid Cult like shirts ideas. I want to work something into it that says something along the lines of like Disco Acid Cult, been making 9/11 jokes since 9/12. I don't know why I think that's a funny one.
Before and since 9/11, no steel-framed skyscrapers have ever completely collapsed from fire. On September 13th, just 48 hours after the event, Northwestern University structural engineer Zdenek Bazant published his simple analysis. Simple. Bazant imagined the upper block of the tower powering down through the entire undamaged lower part of the tower in what became nicknamed the pile driver theory. That same day, September 13th, 2001, structural engineer Chris Wise also made it simple. He informed us that the fire reached 800 degrees Celsius, which melted the steel supports. The Twin Towers were among the largest and strongest structures ever built. They were a tube within a tube, 240 steel box columns around the perimeter, and a central core structure of 47 massive and cross-braced steel columns. Could plane crashes and fires really cause what we saw?
It was the heat
The flames there burned too long and too hot, rising above 1,500 degrees. It began to melt the steel.
The American people were in shock. Most accepted the simple explanations unquestioningly, but not everyone. On September 11th, explosives expert Van Romero said he thought explosives were planted in the towers. Curiously, a week later, Romero flip-flopped and said that fire did it. But could fire really do this?
It's hard to put it into words.
To some people, it looked an awful lot like a mushroom cloud. On October 21st, 2001, Jay McMichael posted, "Muslims suspend the laws of physics." I tried to be patriotic. I tried to believe, he says. McMichael points out that a jet fuel fire cannot possibly melt steel. A few weeks later, speaking at the UN, President Bush called for intolerance.
This part's funny. I always like when, there's like a tiny, tiny population of people that are like, I don't really believe what they're saying. So the president has to get on TV and be like, hey, you need to believe this shit.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September the 11th. Malicious lies that attempt to shift the blame away from the terrorists themselves, away from the guilty.
Nevertheless, videos and websites claiming a 9/11 government conspiracy began to flourish. There were questions, painful questions, about the missing air defenses, demolitions, Building 7, multiple war games, and the airplane passenger lists.
Oh, the multiple war games, I think, is an interesting part. I only know that because of the Zeitgeist documentary. I guess like the day of 9/11, there was a whole bunch of like all the Army and Air Force. The reason they weren't able to respond quickly to the attacks was because they were all doing like training, which they called war games. They were doing like simulations. And I guess they had like they were basically all busy that day, which I don't think was a thing that was there was usually at least a couple teams around. But that day they were all busy. And some of them were even busy. Their war games task that day was they were doing a simulation of a terrorist attack where they fly buildings, or they fly airplanes into buildings. Man, imagine if 9/11 was people flying buildings into airplanes instead. But yeah, the war game stuff I always thought was kind of interesting. The fact that, they're all distracted, they're all busy.
A few days after 9/11, CNN published the passenger lists from all 4 of the hijacked flights. No names of any of the 19 hijackers were on there. Larry Silverstein took out a 99-year lease on the Twin Towers just 6 weeks before 9/11, after it had been owned by the Port Authority for over 30 years.
Kanye West definitely has comments about that guy's last name being Silverstein. Like I said, I only saw like 30 minutes of this documentary yesterday, but so far I don't think it's going to go down that route. I'm not sure. There's 4 hours. So it could very well go down that route of, that population of people. I feel like I woke up in the middle of the night when this documentary was still playing, and I heard something about him talking about there being no planes at all. So that's why I think that's where this is going to go. But it also could just go everywhere because it's 4 hours.
Speaking about Building 7 in a PBS documentary, Silverstein said,
And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
A put option is a financial instrument that goes up in value when the stock value goes down. Just a few days before 9/11, the volume of put options placed on United and American Airlines spiked to more than 30 times normal. And where was America's mighty air defense? When any commercial aircraft is off course or does not respond to air traffic control, it is standard procedure to intercept with scrambled Air Force fighter jets. F-16s can be airborne in 2 minutes. The 9/11 planes were flying all over the Northeast for an hour and a half. Was it just a coincidence that a number of military war games were taking place on 9/11?
Yeah, that's the war game stuff I was talking about. I don't think I ever knew that the passenger planes were flying around for an hour and a half. So that's even crazier. So if you're a passenger on this plane, these guys hijack the plane with box cutters, and then you're just sitting there for an hour and a half. Like you're not breaking down the door to the cockpit after 30 minutes. Like I don't think there were people in these planes. I think that's probably for sure where I would go with it. I don't think there were people on the planes. 'Cause I just don't see, dude, people will get out of their car and fuck somebody up if they're stuck in traffic for more than like 20 minutes. But then all of a sudden people are just sitting in airplanes that have been hijacked for almost 2 hours. There's no way. There's got to be somebody on that plane, some rough and tough guy who's pissed that it's taken so long, and he's banging on the cockpit door. Yeah, no, especially dudes, people that are probably already fed up of being, I know the airport was different back then because there was no TSA, but people on airplanes, I think, are generally fed up with shit. They're traveling, they're not real excited, they're not in good moods. They're not sitting there for a fucking hour and a half while some hijackers just fly the plane around for an hour and a half.
Including simulated hijackings, planes crashing into buildings, and fake blips injected into radar screens. NORAD and the FAA were confused. Was it just a coincidence that a bioterror exercise called Tripod 2 was scheduled for the day after 9/11 on the pier right next to the World Trade Center, and that FEMA agents had already arrived the night before 9/11?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. People shoot people in traffic because some of the other person's like not inching forward enough. Yeah, and then there's no way, especially, and then also, like, I guess with no TSA, I'm not saying anybody might have had a weapon on the plane or something, but to counter the box cutters, you think somebody would have had something. Like maybe you wouldn't even had to get cut. Maybe somebody's got a fucking knife of his own in his bag or something. I don't know how that shit worked back then, but yeah, I don't think there were people on these planes. What time is it? It's like 7:30. I'll probably roll with this for a few more minutes and then get out of here.
To be honest with you, we arrived on late Monday night and went into action on Tuesday morning.
Was it just a coincidence that on the day...
I like how this guy's name is Tom Kenny. There's a SpongeBob right here. FEMA, Urban Search and Rescue. I was thinking real, like, cynically about this when I was watching those last night. It was when I was watching the first 30 minutes, because like I said, the first 30 minutes was basically just all of the news reports. It's actually interesting. It actually showed like the moment when CNN, like they were doing some interview with some guy on a show, And the host was like, "Hold on, I have to cut you off. We're getting word that a plane has just crashed into," like, this guy actually played all this footage of the news stations in the moment this shit happened. And for some reason, I was, like, cynically thinking about how, like, the news, like, I don't know, this is, like, more like, we don't have drastic shit like this going on today. I guess maybe that's, like, a sign of, like, I guess despite how shitty things are today, like, at least it's not, I don't know. I just think, like, the only time I ever, like, in my house, whenever I, like, walk by the living room TV, if, like, KCRA is on, they might be like, "Oh, breaking news, like, a dog was hit by a car." You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like we haven't had some kind of, I mean, we have tragic shit happen all the time, like, we have shootings and stuff, but, like, nothing of this magnitude has happened, um, often. I used to joke, and say that, like, 2016 era, I would joke and say, "We need another 9/11 today," because maybe that would help some of the, like, division, maybe we'd come together more because everyone talks about when 9/11 happened, like, people say, like, when 9/11 happened on 9/12, like, traffic was flowing wonderfully, like, everybody was holding doors open for each other, and everybody was, like, friendly and, trying to be nice to each other. Today, I think it wouldn't. You'd have college kids being like, "Yeah, fuck America. We deserved that shit." You know? "Don't stop the terrorists because that's racist. Let them do what they have to do." I mean, we'd get shit like that going on today if this shit happened, and, it'd be a huge bummer. I guess I would be curious. I'd be very curious if we had some, like, 9/11 type shit happen today. What would it be? Probably be like China? I don't know. Who would attack us today? It'd have to be like fucking China. I guess I think Iran pops up sometimes. Like, I hear about Iran and stuff. But yeah, just if some other country attacked us today, we would have liberal, rich, white college kids talking about how it was good. It was a good thing. And this is what we get for having Trump as the president. It'd go down that road. We would not have, like, any kind of healing of the division if we were attacked today, which is kind of a bummer.
Day before 9/11, the Pentagon announced that it had misplaced
$2.3 trillion.
Was it just a coincidence that Flight 77 struck the Pentagon in an area that had recently had the outer walls renovated and that contained financial records, and not in the area where the top brass had their offices? Flight 77 allegedly made a death-defying spiral dive maneuver, then flew in at ground level, knocking over multiple light poles, yet somehow pilot Hani Hanjour maintained control despite the fact that he couldn't even fly a Cessna, and managed to destroy the aircraft so completely that not a single serial number part was ever recovered? Where are the engines? Where are the seats? Where's the luggage? Where are the passengers? Popular Mechanics magazine published an article and later a book promoting the official story.
Conspiracy theorists want to know why it wasn't the width of the full wingspan of the plane, and actually just the simple reason was that the wings came off.
I think what they expect is that if an airplane hits a building, it kind of punches a cartoon-like hole in the building in the exact shape of the wings. The wings did not fully penetrate the facade. In fact, the wings had already been partially sheared off by the time the plane even hit the building.
Perhaps people expected a cartoon cutout at the Pentagon because earlier they'd been shown cartoon cutouts at the Twin Towers. And what about World Trade Center Building 7? A 47-story skyscraper that dropped straight down into its footprint at 5:20 p.m. on 9/11. It certainly wasn't hit by any airplane. And why was most of the steel from Ground Zero hurriedly shipped off to China before it could be studied?
We were able to move 120 dump trucks out of the city last night, which will give you a sense of the work that was done over.
I don't think I've ever actually seen this guy's face. I don't think I've ever actually seen what Rudy Giuliani looks like. What a name, though. What a name, though. Everyone knows Everyone knows Rudy Giuliani. It sucks because, you know, like when you're a kid and you have pets, and I had a dog named Rudy, and so now I just always associate the name Rudy with a dog. So anybody named Rudy, I'm like, oh, we're talking about a fucking dog here, and they're like, no, we're talking about fucking Rudy Giuliani. Like, oh, what the fuck? I just remember my dog Rudy that used to get her head stuck in Dorito chip bags. Yeah, the wings can't penetrate the building because they're too weak, but the whole building explodes. Yeah, it sounds like they're saying the wings fell off before it even actually hit the building. But then where were the you know, the whole Pentagon one is funny because I mean, literally just everything is gone. There's not a single trace of an airplane. There's not a single trace of a human being. There's not a single trace of, you know, everything just disintegrates, just completely. I think the Pentagon specifically is the one where, like, any footage or pictures that were taken by, like, bystanders, you know, they confiscated, like, footage. I don't remember I don't remember if it was by the towers of the Pentagon, but I know they confiscated gas station security camera footage from, like, gas stations nearby. Like, just everything they could get, they went around and collected. And, of course, the best part, you know, I love that he talked about the Pentagon announces they, like, lost $2 trillion, and then sure enough, the plane hits the part of the building where the financial records are kept. At that point, it starts getting comical. It's almost comical. It's almost insulting that, like I said, that, like, Bush and Cheney, they're all sitting around at the table, like, thinking of they're devising the story that they're gonna tell the people. And yeah, the best they can come up with, like, they need a creative writer. Like, that's what you need to do for things like this. You need to hire, like, a Hollywood writer who's gonna come in there and help you out and help you with plot holes, you know? So when Dick Cheney is like, "Yeah, like, let's give him box cutters," you know, then maybe Steven Spielberg can be like, "Hey, buddy, you know, I think a plane full of dudes could overpower a guy with a box cutter," and then, you know, you go from there. You know, maybe Bush is the guy that's like, "Yeah, hey, we'll have him hit the part of the Pentagon where they keep track of the financial records," and then, you know, Steven Spielberg speaks up and says, "Yeah, but, you know, you guys are about to you know, you guys just lost, like, $2 trillion, so maybe you shouldn't hit that part of the building because that looks real fucking funny," you know? He used all their film yeah, they used all the film budget on the Twin Towers. By the time they got to the Pentagon, they were low on budget, they were low on money, they had to make do with what they could. Yeah, yeah, the Pentagon fraud thing. That's like one of the more well-known things too, is that, like, the day before it happens, they just announced that they just lost $2 trillion. They can't track down where it went. And that's funny because that still goes on today. Like, I think today ah, fuck. I think today they still lose money. I feel like I heard something recently about, I don't know if it was money they were sending to Israel or Ukraine or, you know, somewhere that we send fucking money to. They talked about how, there was like a couple $1 billion that we weren't sure what was going on. It might have been Ukraine, I think. I don't remember. And it was either that we lost it or that we just don't know what they used it for. They just kind of like, yeah, we just sent that money and it's oh yeah, you know, it's just we don't really know what they used it on or where it went or whatever. Which is crazy. It's crazy that, you know, if I fuck up on you know, I still gotta go do my taxes. If I fuck up on my tax return and I'm off by like $10, you know, dude, I'm in trouble. But here we go. We got these guys losing billions up to trillions of dollars, and that's, you know, no big fucking deal.
Overnight.
Shit! Oh shit!
A number of early researchers noticed the sheer speed of the tower destruction. An object dropped from the top of the towers would take 9.2 seconds to free fall to the ground, ignoring air resistance. With air resistance, free fall time could go above 12 seconds. Measuring the downward acceleration of Building 7, it is shown that the mass literally went into free fall, meaning the structure offered no resistance whatsoever. This is irrefutable proof of controlled demolition.
Oh man, every time I have something to bring up to the more on Twitch, he never shows up. I want to ask him about I think I know what his answer would be. You know, because there's videos of people like falling. You know, the jumpers, the people that were in the buildings. You know, because like he said, he thinks there was nobody in the buildings at all, but we have footage of people jumping off the buildings and dying. I would imagine, you know, videos, he would just say it's video editing. Same thing, you know, I asked him, he thinks there were no planes either. And I said, well, how do you explain the videos of the planes flying into the buildings? And he's like, dude, they just make the videos. It's it's edited. Oh, I was wondering why there was no mention. What's up, Cole? Of the black boxes being recovered. Um, I think there was either no mention or there was, and they just said they couldn't find the black boxes. I know I've heard something about the black boxes. Dude, honestly, this documentary, I'm probably gonna just like save it on the spot once I get off of here. We're gonna tackle this whole 4 hours throughout the next, like, 10 to 20 streams or whatever. Yeah, I remember hearing something about they either just never mentioned the black boxes ever, or someone did say, "Oh yeah, we couldn't find them," or you know, they couldn't be recovered. But no matter what, it's comical, you know, because the passports of the passports of the hijackers were discovered. That's one of my favorite parts. Is that in all the wreckage, the planes disintegrate into literal dust, like they are vaporized as if a nuclear bomb hit them. There's not a single bone of a human being that is found, which I think goes to my idea that there were no people on these planes. You know, maybe there was a pilot, maybe they were being flown remotely. I think that's a little bit more extreme. Like I say, at the most, I would think there was a pilot on the plane and that's it. But they, you know, there's like a funny news report in the guy announcing that they found the passports of the hijackers, and they were like coincidentally found in front of like a government building or something. Like it was kind of presented as if like, oh yeah, right on the front doorstep of the FBI's headquarters, they found the passports of the hijackers. So like nothing in the plane survives, not even the black boxes, but the passports of the hijackers. You know, and I know everything I know about this stuff is a super surface level, but yeah, the black box thing, I wish I remembered exactly what it was, if I remember hearing about them just saying that those must have been blown up too somehow, or, they just never addressed it.
It's amazing. Amazing, incredible, pick your word.
The 9/11 Blimp website offered this graphic, asking which would hit the ground first. The top part of any skyscraper is the lightest and weakest part. They get progressively stronger and more massive as they go down. A growing number of people could not believe this was a gravity-driven collapse. In May 2002, FEMA released the first official government study on 9/11. The findings were packaged for mass media in the PBS Nova program, Why the Towers Fell.
As the steel began to soften and melt, the interior core columns began to give. Then you had this sequential failure that took place where it all pancaked one after the other.
If the floors pancaked, wouldn't the core structures be left standing? Quarter-mile-high monoliths of steel and concrete allegedly collapsed and fell down into a pile. This is what was actually left of the Twin Towers.
They won't address it if the terrorists were speaking English. Dude, the terrorists, yeah, in quotes, the terrorists that they told us were the terrorists. I know that's one of my favorite things is that they all like took flying lessons in America. There's like something about that, and one of them was like a notorious terrible flyer, like he couldn't fly planes very well. Yeah, they were all trained like here, like they all came to like flight school here, you know. One of the things that Zeitgeist talks about that I like a lot is that the morning of 9/11, the Bush family is in, I think, Iraq having breakfast with the Bin Laden family. Like, they were all just family friends. They dropped a bomb on it. I think there were bombs in it. I think that's kinda where I go to. I tend to think there were planes that flew into the towers, but I also think that they had bombs in there to, just to kinda make sure the job gets done. That's kinda where I go with it. But even the planes gets weird, which is when you look at the wreckage and there's just no plane in any of the wreckage, like, not a single piece of the plane survives. Ever heard of the black tag lady? No, I have not. What is the black tag lady? Actually, let me look it up. I know you're slow on the typing just because of how you're watching. Pentagon for sure got hit by a missile. Yeah, I think the Pentagon for sure, at the least, for sure, the Pentagon, either had a bomb in it or got hit by something that was not an airplane. Um, just because that's the most egregious case of. Oh, cool. 9/11 archive subreddit. We got a question about the black tag lady. So I've been here in the subreddit for a few months, finding myself in this 9/11 rabbit hole, and it's made me realize more about that day than I ever thought, besides either remembering the event of whatever the fuck that says. One that keeps popping up is the black tag lady. Can someone give me the rundown of it? Yeah, I want the rundown. All right, here we go. The highest voted answer on the subreddit when asked about the black tag lady says there was an EMT named Ernest Armstead who went down to the World Trade Center on 9/11, getting there fairly early after the first plane hit. He went about performing what is called triage, tagging bodies with small tags, which lets future first responders know the status of the victim who has been tagged. Essentially, triage or triag, I think it'd be triage, is meant to save lives by determining who will survive without immediate help, who won't survive unless they receive immediate help, and who will die even if they are given immediate help. Sounds like a good system. It sounds cruel, but in a mass casualty event where resources, sorry, are limited, it can mean the difference between saving 3 people by letting 1 die or having all 4 die because you attempted to help someone who is not going to survive regardless. Armstead was interviewed for the book Voices of 9/11, September 11, An Oral History by Dean Murphy in 2002, and then appeared on the documentary series 9/11 A Day in America 20 years later for the 20th anniversary. In both the book interview and the documentary, he essentially tells the same story. While tagging a group of bodies on the courtyard outside the towers, he was giving them all black tags. These are the ones that inform future first responders that the person is dead or near death and should not be given aid first because they are unlikely to survive. He describes that one gentleman seemed to have a seizure and others were already dead. He then placed a tag on a woman in a formal pantsuit who looked fairly well dressed. She, according to Armstead, looked at him and said, "I'm not dead. Call my daughter. I'm not dead," and kept insisting she was alive. Armstead then describes her injuries. She seemed to be intact from her diaphragm up, but everything from below her ribcage was pulverized. She was awake and lucid, but would never survive. He attempted to comfort her by saying he would come back. He says that she appeared to know what the black tag signified and was adamant that she wasn't dead and continued to demand that he call her daughter. Armstead told her not to worry about the tag and moved on to triage other victims, never returning to the area of the black tag woman. So this has proved extremely controversial for several reasons, which I will go over. I should say that in my opinion, I believe him. He was most definitely there and spent several days in the hospital after due to dust inhalation and eye damage. He has maintained a story fairly consistently over the 20 years, and while obviously a freak occurrence, someone surviving briefly from a fall of this nature would not be unprecedented. I'll reply for the follow-up info. So the commentary over the story can be broken up in a few ways. 1. People think he is lying or delusional. Some doubt the need for tagging bodies in an event of that magnitude or on the plaza. But it is exactly events like 9/11 that triage exists to quickly and efficiently determine who can be saved and who can't. There's a lot of controversy over whether the woman fell/jumped or was hit by a piece of falling debris. This one I'm more open to saying that we will never know, and either is possible. I might even lean towards her being struck by debris being more likely. However, if she fell in such a way that she landed feet first, which would make sense with Armstead's description, it would explain that the force compressed/destroyed the lower half of her body while somewhat protecting her vital organs and brain from instant death. There's really no way of knowing how long she had been there before Armstead arrived and how long after he left she was conscious. So this sounds like, let me get back to these comments real quick. Agree on the same page. I believe there were planes, but it's weird that there's no remains of fucking passports made it. Chilling story, one of the victims on the ground. I think she got hit by falling debris. Yeah, that sounds like a crazy story. It doesn't contribute to the any like conspiracy theory of 9/11, but it does. It is a like a crazy story. I never knew about that triage system. I mean, it makes sense, honestly. It's one of those shades of gray things that you have to do. Like you said, it's the difference between saving 3 people by letting 1 die or just all 4 people dying. That would suck to have to black tag that bitch, and she's sitting there like she's sitting there talking to you like, "Hey, I'm not dead yet," but she's clearly gonna fucking die. You gotta be like, no, ma'am, you're about to die though, so here's your fucking tag." Yeah, I would also imagine she got hit by falling debris. I don't think, I mean, unless she fell from like story 4 or something, you know what I mean? Like not fucking 30 stories up. But yeah, I would imagine she got crushed by something. But then the fact that the falling debris wasn't on top of her, like it sounds like she was just completely open and exposed, but just her bottom half was smashed. So that would be crazy. That would mean the falling debris was moved somehow, wouldn't it? Like she somehow pushed it off of herself. Which I know there are crazy stories of like adrenaline strength, but I would doubt she can move a piece of, anything that's big enough to crush the lower half of her body completely. There's no way she can move that on her own. So I guess that would be a question. Who moved the debris if that's what happened? Or I don't know, maybe she crawled out from under it and kind of crawled a short distance away from it, and that's where the guy finds her. And it's fucking 8:00. All right, let me hit like one more, I guess, thing on this documentary, then I'm gonna get out of here.
Aman Zafar took this series of still photos from across the Hudson River. The building appears to systematically disintegrate into an expanding cloud of dust, a dust tsunami. Posting on his site 9/11 Research, mathematician and software engineer Jim Hoffman studied the expansion of the dust cloud. He discovered this phenomenon required at least 10 times more energy than would be available from the falling mass of the tower. That's not even counting the energy needed to break the building apart and create all the dust.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Only powerful explosives could explain the presence of so much energy. Public pressure forced a new government investigation. The 9/11 Commission issued its report in August 2004, but they ignored all of the troubling questions raised by the Truth Movement. Instead, they assumed the official story about the 19 hijackers and framed public debate around intelligence failures. Did the Bush administration receive warnings that Al-Qaeda was going to strike? How specific were the threats? How can security be strengthened in the future? The 9/11 Commission did offer one casual little footnote about the frailty of the Twin Towers. Does this look like a hollow steel shaft? The 9/11 Commission did not even...
Oh, wait, seriously? The first recorded death on 9/11 is a firefighter who was killed by the leg of a falling woman. That sucks to do as a firefighter. It's like a dude who's in there to help people, and he's the first motherfucker that gets it like that. I don't know if I already passed the part. I may have. I know there's a part in this documentary. I guess there's kind of two groups of people when it comes to the conspiracy theory. There's people that believe that George Bush and Dick Cheney and, you know, the powers that be, there's the theory that they knew what was going to happen and they just let it happen. And then there's the theory that they're the ones that made it happen. They helped to orchestrate it. And I tend to lean toward they orchestrated it.
Even mention Building 7. But we did get some very interesting testimony from Transportation Secretary Norman Mineta.
During the time that the airplane coming in to the Pentagon, there was a young man who would come in and say to the Vice President, the plane is 50 miles out, the plane is 30 miles out. And when it got down to the plane is 10 miles out, the young man also said to the Vice President, do the orders still stand? And the Vice President turned and whipped his neck around and said, of course the orders still stand. Have you heard anything to the contrary?
What were those orders? To shoot the plane down or to not shoot it down? In 2005, Jim Fetzer, Professor Emeritus from the University of Minnesota and noted JFK assassination researcher, teamed up with BYU nuclear physicist Stephen Jones to create the Scholars for 9/11 Truth. The academic affiliations were adding much-needed visibility to the 9/11 Truth movement. Fetzer scored 3 appearances on Fox News.
Joining us now, the co-chairman of Scholars for 9/11 Truth, Professor Emeritus at the University of Minnesota at Duluth, James Fetzer.
Oh, you're confused, and I hope that Fox usually does a better job on their research than this.
All right, so
I created an organization of faculty and scholars to study 9/11.
Oh, and I want to be clear on this.
We've discovered that practically everything the government has told us about it is false.
I want to get into
including physicists, mechanical engineers, pilots, aeronautical engineers.
Sure.
We've discovered that the Twin Towers were brought down by controlled demolition.
Do the orders still stand?
The order had to be to not shoot down the plane that was approaching the Pentagon. After all, the order should have been to shoot it down. Shooting it down would be the obvious thing to do when you consider that you're going to lose the passengers in the plane if you shoot it down, but if you don't, you're going to use the passengers in the plane and also, of course, all the personnel and property at the target.
Sometimes I also wonder if, I think I'm actually coming up on a good spot on this documentary to stop because I'm recognizing these people chanting. I also sometimes I'm curious about what if the planes just had bombs in them too, you know, like maybe that would explain like the Pentagon, maybe the plane that flew into the Pentagon was just rigged with bombs and that's, you know, how it disintegrated basically. But, yeah, no, I'm not married to that idea at all though. That's kind of just something that just popped into my head. So the chant that they're chanting 9/11 was an inside job is the worst rhythmic chant of all time. I'm pretty sure this chant segues into the most random fucking place for a song ever. And if that song is what's going to pop up, then yeah, this is where we're going to call it for the night. Yes, it is the song. So we're about to get a song. I swear it's like a song that the lyrics are about 9/11. I'll let it play for a second. It's hilarious.
The plane is 30 miles out. The plane is 10 miles out.
Next time anyone gets like on a first date with a girl, like if I had a following right now, like if there were a lot of people in chat, I would say anyone who goes on a first date with a girl and you get the aux cord in the car, play this fucking song for me. Dude.
Vice President turned and flicked his neck around and said,
Hell yes! Have you heard anything to the contrary?
Like, what the fuck? Just 1 hour into this very serious documentary on 9/11, we get this like pop punk 9/11 song.
Oh, I'm one deck with a joystick on the military. I will guide every plane where it needs to go. Oh, I guess you didn't get the memo.
Oh, Jesus. All right, that's where I'm calling it. That's where we're calling it for the day. That's a perfect spot to end this. We do not need the 9/11 song. Dude, that graphic too.
You didn't get the memo. No, 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 no.
Yeah, like the lyrics are the South Tower came down. This guy wrote a song about 9/11. This is like that, like people that write music that don't know how to write like metaphorically and poetically, right? You could have written like a, some type of Rage Against the Machine type shit, metaphors and like, nope, just just a straight up on the nose song about 9/11. North Tower came down, and this song goes on for like, it's a full song. I skipped this when I got a little bit farther than this, I guess, when I watched it. Now that I'm thinking about it, and yeah, I was like, "What the fuck is going on? Why is there a song about 9/11 playing in this documentary?" Yeah, I'm gonna leave this tab up. Like 54 minutes and 20 seconds, 6 seconds in. I'll pull this up on the stream. I don't know. Maybe I'll be back on tomorrow. Uh, I don't have shit going on. I'll probably be back on tomorrow. Not doing anything. I need to work on some other stuff other than just live streaming kind of randomly. But yeah, like the last 2 weeks of streams have been god awful, like terrible. I guess at least tonight I did have some topics. I'm able to title the video some stuff as opposed to just like in need of a trap queen, stuff that I'm thinking about. But yeah, fucking A. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get out of here. Cole, thanks for getting in chat. I know you mentioned the way that you watch. It's hard to get in chat, but thanks for getting down in chat. I did actually I don't know if you were there yesterday when I did the first, like, Blackout episode. I did end up reading your story on the Blackout Chronicles. I privated the episode. The episode was terrible. It was a terrible first run. Um, I think what I wanna do is I'm gonna do them separate, like, I don't wanna do because what happened yesterday was I did Blackout, and then we just started talking about 9/11, basically. So it kinda seems, like, weird, like, if somebody were to click on the video, they'd be like, "Oh, this guy's talking about people getting too drunk," and then, "Oh, now he's talking about 9/11." So I probably should do Blackout Chronicles, like, just separate. We'll just do 1 hours of live, and then maybe I'll end the live, and then maybe I'll get back on a separate live if I feel like continuing to stream. But, yeah, cool. Your story is definitely probably gonna be on the first episode. I'm probably gonna try to redo the first episode next week, maybe. I don't know, I'll see. I'm honestly thinking that maybe Trey would be a better co-host for Blackout Chronicles. That might be, like, the thing that I should try to do with him. Like, maybe that's our thing, Me and Trey talking about, No, no, the episode's not even up. It's not even I got rid of it. It was terrible. It was terrible. That's what I was saying. It's not there. I did it, and I didn't like it at all, and I took it down. What I'm saying is when I redo it, I'm gonna do your story again on the first episode. It's gonna suck for Proto Max because he's gonna act like he hasn't heard these stories before, even though he was there last night. But yeah, I'm thinking about like I was just saying, I'm thinking about doing them with Trey. At least one, the first one. I wanna try it out with him. I think that might be a funny, bit of commentary to get his commentary on these stories. He's just been working around his work schedule lately. But yeah, fucking A. We did 2 hours, 12 minutes. Thank you guys for hanging out. Like I said, if I'm on tomorrow, it'll be around the same time. I'll bring up more of the 9/11 documentary. I'll make that a running theme for a while. We'll just hack away at that fucking documentary after talking about girls fucking dogs in Dubai and Andrew Tate's ex-girlfriend. Let's see. Before I get off of here, it looks like we do have oh yeah, I forgot it's Friday Night SmackDown. YouTube homepage has a clip of Randy Orton. Randy Orton targets Cody Rhodes. Looks like Randy's going after Cody. That sounds interesting. I'll have to check out what's going on SmackDown tonight. But yeah, if I'm on tomorrow, once again, between 6 and 7, I might bring a smattering of topics, and then, I'll end the show with more 9/11 documentary. Like I said, that'll be our thing. We got 4 hours of that documentary to roll through, so if I do, like, 30 minutes to an hour of it every night, we will have 9/11 content for at least, like, 2 or 3 weeks, which will be great. It'll be fucking fantastic. I think, I think I'll work on I need to get back to if I'm gonna start working on any actual video, I'll either work on the Great Texas Dynamite Chase video or I'll work on a Manson video. I had that idea. Randy the GOAT. Do you consider Randy Orton the GOAT? I mean, like, that's a fine argument. I accept that. Randy Orton, I think, is probably like the most loyal and stable wrestler for WWE, maybe like of all time. Everybody talks about, oh, The Undertaker, he was in WWE his whole career, but he wasn't, though. He started off in WCW. We just kind of don't talk about that. Randy Orton didn't even do the indies. Like Randy Orton is literally WWE from day one, until today. So I'm down when people say that he's the GOAT. I accept that, I don't argue with you. I don't say the same thing, but I don't argue with people that say that because he's probably been one of the most consistent wrestlers of all time for that company and consistently good. A lot of people talk about looking up to him and watching him work as their like inspiration. So, yeah, I like Randy Orton. I like Randy Orton too. I remember when I was a kid, I fucking hated Randy Orton, which, that means he's doing a good job, especially when he was like teaming up with Edge. And they had Rated RKO going for a while. All right. Now I'm getting distracted about wrestling though. I don't think there's any I don't think there's any updates on Twitter. Oh yeah, we got the contract signing. That's yeah, okay. Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta watch this shit. Contract signing between CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. I guess real quick before I go, that's gonna be awesome. The triple threat match at WrestleMania: CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. But I feel like just because it seems like that match was kind of thrown together last minute. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like they're doing that as a consolation for when they booked Jey Uso and Gunther as one of the main events. You know, people clearly are not happy about that, and I think Triple H was probably like, "Oh, fuck, you know, we gotta give them something else to kinda, you know, make them a little bit happier," and I think this is that. CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins is the consolation for the shitty main event. But I do like that triple threat. I like how their story is the main event story is kind of, like, all bleeding into each other and interweaving, and I like that. You know, so, like, you got Cody and Cena, but Cena also has a rivalry with CM Punk that's just, like, waiting to happen, and Punk is feuding with Seth Rollins, but then Rollins has, like, a feud going with Roman Reigns, and then Punk has the thing with Roman Reigns, you know what I mean? Like, they all can cross paths at any given time in any certain way, and that I like. I think that's good, main event booking, you know? You have, like, your main event scene, and all those guys are kind of associated with each other. So at any time, you know, you could get a duo of these guys. I really want the CM Punk and John Cena feud. I think we'll definitely get that before John Cena retires. I also think, and I don't think we'll ever get it, but I want CM Punk to bring back the Straight Edge Society. I want the cult. You know, give him 2 or 3 guys, shave their heads. I don't think Punk would grow his hair back out though. You know, I wish he would grow his hair back out. I prefer long hair CM Punk, but you know, I don't think we'll get that. I don't think we'll get the cult either, but we should. We should. But all right. That's my wrestling update. Yeah, Triple H has definitely turned out to be one of the goats. Looking back now too, I like, you know, when I was a kid, he was a bad guy. So when I was a kid, I didn't care for him. But again, that means he's doing a good job. But looking back now too, I love watching his old stuff too, like long hair Triple H. And you know, nowadays he's been killing it as the creative guy of the company. But, all right, fuck it. I'm gonna hit the outro. I'll be back on tomorrow night. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Here today to groove and have a beautiful time together, and that it's only the beginning.